I got a text from Ms. Lane that she was having some difficulties getting her client here today because of the jail. Correct? Y'all talked about.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, that's what Lou sent me, that text earlier this morning that said they're doing parole meetings virtually and they can't get to our client until my client until close to 10.
Have y'all talked about that, or anybody have any opinions or anything?
The only matter my client had, she did not object to the TMC, is just pushing to make sure that her sister was considered as placement.
I think we were having a contest as somebody requested it, but I don't remember what.
Yes, I believe Mr. Crispel did not want to agree to TMC. Our concern, at least my concern this morning, is we determined on Friday that he had not taken his hair strand as ordered by the court previously.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Okay, before we begin, it's my understanding that on 4/20/23, everybody agreed that everybody could appear via Zoom. Me, especially because I have court in 3 different counties today, drive all over the world and be back to have kid meetings. Last time I ordered the emergency orders extended until today. The Rule 11 about Zoom was approved. DNA as agreed by attorneys. Have we done any DNA tests, private DNA testing, y'all?
I know that we had discussed both of the fathers possibly doing private DNA testing. I don't know if that has occurred.
Ms. Willis, Ms. Wheeler?
Judge, to my knowledge, it hasn't. I'm not sure about Mr. King or Ms. Willis.
Ms. Willis, did that happen?
I always have trouble trying to get my mute off. I'm sorry. Not to my knowledge. I know that my client wanted to do it and pay for it. I don't know that he was able to make that happen. I know that he did get a hold of the CPS caseworker, but not very much time to get it done by the time he reached him. What was that?
I said I haven't got a hold of anyone to find out anything on how to do that or anything.
Well,
So
it's not a matter of whether doing it through the department, because we use Attorney General. It's something that you and Ms. Willis were going to have to work out on your own. Y'all were going to have to find the place, and then Ms. Willis was going to have to circulate the agreements amongst attorneys. So it's not a CPS thing. So no,
okay.
that one on CPS. So anyway, that was that.
That
CPS
didn't happen.
What, Ms. Willis?
I said, well, that didn't happen then.
Well, that's not CPS's fault. So CPS to investigate homes of Linda and Yogi Crispel. CPS, did y'all do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And Tina Tomlinson, did y'all do that one too?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Hair strand on Mr. Crispel by noon 4/21/23. Miss Wheeler?
I have not, I mean, this is the first I've heard that didn't happen, so.
Department, did y'all set that up?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did Mr. Crispel show up?
No, he texted me and let me know that he was on his way and didn't show up.
So that was on 4/21. That was about 10 days ago, right, Ms. Pilling?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, what about the hair strand on the kids?
I did not get an order signed yet back, and we have to have that signed before drug testing or doing a hair strand on the children.
Did I get that, Mr. Rogers?
I believe so, Your Honor. I'll confirm. Yes, I believe it's been sent to you from what I can see.
And who sent it?
Yeah, it would have been Terry, and I think she's buzzing me right now to tell me. Hold on. Okay, 420, Your Honor, by Terry.
Okay. Visits. Did anybody do any visits?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And did anybody send me any applications for court-appointed attorney? Ms. Trinidad, do you know if we received any, or lawyers, did y'all send those to me?
Mine's been done, Judge.
Mine's been done.
Yeah, I still haven't had an opportunity to sit down and review that with my client.
Ms. Trinidad, what can you confirm on any of that?
So Ms. Holmes has been
See
approved.
Mr. King's.
I don't, Judge. Nina, do you know when you sent that one?
Deanna did it and she's not here today. And so I'll have to look,
Okay.
but I'll have to use my phone to look. So hold on a second. Jake, you filled out that form with Deanna over the phone, didn't you? The court-appointed attorney form?
Oh, I think I still had one section that I had to do with the bills out and everything.
Oh, so you hadn't gotten it back to her?
No,
Miss-
I hadn't
Go
gotten in touch with her.
Well, then Miss Willis and Miss Wheeler, y'all are excused from today because I don't have it back. It was due like over a week ago and I don't have them.
Yes, Judge, I've made my client and I had appointments to get this stuff done. It just, that didn't actually end up taking shape.
Well, he didn't do a hair strain. I didn't take shape, but he could have walked to there by now. I probably could have walked and filled out the application for court-appointed attorney. I mean, what am I supposed to do if nobody complies with any of these emergency orders? And then we have supposed to have a contested adversary hearing today.
I'm at the court's discretion, Judge. I'm just letting you know what I know.
Oh, I know. It's not your, I understand.
And Judge, I'm sorry, that's on us, of course, not Mr. King, but I could have sworn Deanna was working on that. I gave that task to her to do. And we are in agreement, so we don't need a contested hearing.
Yeah. Well, I understand, but I still need it, Miss Willis. I need it.
Well, we'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to delegate some things, but I can get that to you today.
Okay. Yeah, no, my last email to you was 4/14. Mr. Rogers, why don't y'all go in a breakout room and visit real quick?
Yes, Your Honor.
Lawyers, what's going on now?
Well, Judge, I think we've agreed that they're going to just go forward with the contest. But I'm just answering because nobody else has. Maybe Courtney ought to answer that.
Since last I spoke to my client, he wanted to contest this hearing and he wanted possession of his child.
Is that what he said?
That was what I understood at our last adversary hearing.
Well, nobody's going to get custody of their child if they're not doing hair strain tests. I mean, I can just tell you that right off the bat. Especially when this is the type of case that it is. So just saying, okay. Mr.
Your Honor, I
Rogers,
apologize. I got something stuck in my throat. Had to run down the hall and get some water.
that's okay. Let's begin, and we have until 11:30. Miss Wheeler, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Criswell has not filled out his application for court-appointed attorney. His lawyer was supposed to be released by 4/26/23 because I don't know. I don't have any presidency or not indigency. How do you feel about Mrs. Wheeler? You and Ms. Harris feel about Mrs. Wheeler being released, and we continue on.
Your Honor, we discussed this in the breakout room, and I think we are in agreement that that would be appropriate.
That would be what?
Appropriate.
Okay. Ms. Harris, you agree?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Wheeler, thank you for your representation, and you tend to other business. You're released. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Rogers, you may begin, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. First of all, if it pleases the court.
I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Somebody named Kids. Could that be the foster, Ms. Harris? Could that be the foster parent?
Yes, they were planning to join today. Yes, Judge, they were planning to join today.
Judge, I see the foster parents on.
You do?
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody named Kids. We need to see your. Who is this?
Calm down,
You might know who that is. Mr. Tucker Bland, do you know who that is? Okay, well, Mr. Tucker, I mean, if nobody answered, I'm gonna release. No, I can't sit here all day and keep asking all these people this stuff because Kids is not appropriate way to be put your name, I mean, that's just against the rules.
And Mr. Tucker Bland is here, so,
Yeah, I got kicked off. That was the kids is not me. I don't know who that was. I have the kids with me right now, but it wasn't anybody from me. They kicked me off and I just got back on so I can answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I removed the kids. I didn't put them in the waiting room. I removed them because nobody knows who they are. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Sturmer. That's a different county. Mr. Rogers, you may begin, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, if it would please the court, I could ask the attorneys for Ms. Holmes and Mr. King. It's my understanding that their clients have agreed to TMC. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Very good. And then a couple of other matters, Your Honor, before I called my first witness. I believe the department is considering a relative placement with Ms. Melissa Griswold, and would prefer that any visits would be supervised at the department for now, rather than at placement if Ms. Griswold is selected as placement. Not aware of any Native American heritage on the part of any party. So with that, let me call Sierra Pilley.
Well, let me ask you a question, just kind of cut to the chase, Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Who is Ms. Griswold?
Ms. Griswold is, I believe, the sister of Ms. Holmes.
Oh, okay. Because she was not one of the ones that CPS was I had asked them to look into, correct?
Correct. I believe Ms. Lang brought that possibility to our attention. Go ahead,
Okay.
Becky.
Just, Your Honor, you'd asked me to, at the end of the last hearing, I was instructed to provide information about who mother wanted to be considered, and that's how they came up with that name. She is a prior kinship approved person in another CPS case for a brother or somebody, another part of the family.
Okay. And CASA, if we get that far, CASA and Ms. Harris, y'all are in agreement with that?
Yes,
I
Judge.
am, Judge.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Rogers, all we need to do is hear testimony, removal testimony as to Mr. Crystal.
That's correct. I was trying to narrow the issues to that.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, thank you.
Certainly. So let me call Sierra. How did this case come to the attention of CPS?
I received a referral regarding meth use.
And we've already gotten agreement from Mr. King and Ms. Holmes. So my questions are going to focus on Jacob Crispell and his involvement in the case. Did you have an opportunity to speak to Mr. Crispell?
Not until after the removal.
Okay. And are you aware that Mr. Crispell tested positive for methamphetamines through the probation department, I believe, of Burnett County on March 30th, 2023?
I am.
Are you aware that Mr. Crispell was arrested for possession of controlled substance in March of 2022?
I am.
And that he received a deferred for 4 years as a result of that charge?
Yes.
Are you further aware that Mr. Crispell was arrested for possession of controlled substance in July of 2022?
Correct.
And that case is still pending?
Yes.
That didn't happen.
Was Mr. Crispell ordered to perform a hair strand by this court?
Yes.
And when did that occur approximately? When did the order occur? Not test.
At the last hearing, the 20th or 21st.
And was he required to complete a hair strand test by April 21st?
Yes.
Did he complete that hair strand test?
No, the drug testing facility was closed by 11 a.m. on that Friday. And so he was to go on the following Monday.
And did he go?
Oh, no, he did not.
Did he communicate with you about that in any way?
He did. He let me know that he was on his way to drug test on Monday. And I asked him to send me the receipts of him being completed.
And what was his response?
He did not respond.
Can you describe briefly the condition of the children upon the removal?
On the day that I removed the children, they did not have any shoes on. They were dirty with dirt all in their bodies throughout. There were multiple bug bites, and also I was able to see that there was human bites on the stomach of Braylon. Bristol was wearing 3 to 6 month shorts as she's almost 3 years old, and they were not kept. They had too small of clothes on, and like I said, didn't have any shoes.
The department had the human bites looked at by any professional?
Yes.
In the estimation of that professional, was it a child who did the biting or an adult?
It was a smaller mouth, but it had been looked at by a sane nurse, and there was at this point, no sexual allegations.
Okay. And has she received treatment for that bite?
They did not break any skin.
Okay.
No need for treatment.
So in your estimation, is it necessary for the department to take a temporary conservatorship of these children?
Yes.
And do you believe that to be in their best interest?
Yes.
Can you detail for just briefly the reasons why you believe that's in the best interest of these children?
Due to the ongoing meth use and the neglect of the children, the physical neglect of the children, whenever I picked them up, the correlation of the drug use, and if the bites were from a sibling or a smaller person, not watching the children thoroughly.
Are you concerned that the family in this case was trying to shield the parents from CPS?
Yes.
Are you concerned about the protectiveness of some of the family members that you've encountered?
Yes.
And is that another reason it'd be in the best interest of the children for the state to take managing conservatorship temporarily?
Yes.
So in your estimation with respect to Mr. Crispell, he is an ongoing methamphetamine user and is currently subject to charges for possession of controlled substance. Does that concern you?
Yes.
In your estimation, should CPS have temporary managing conservatorship of Mr. Crispell's children?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Lang, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Willis?
I just have one question.
Okay.
Ms. Wellman, do you happen to know if there is a motion to revoke pending on Mr. Crispell's felony charge?
I do not know at this time.
Okay. That's all I have. I'm sorry, Wellman. I meant Sarah Billy. I'm sorry about that. Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Crispell, do you have any questions of Ms. Pilley?
No.
Okay. Ms. Harris, any questions?
Yes, Judge, just a few.
Okay.
What child or children are Mr. Crispell the father of?
At this time, the only child that has been, there's concern that there's Braylon and Braden as his child. But with Braden being born in the vehicle, we also don't have a birth certificate at this time.
And were any of the children living with him?
At this time, we didn't have a specific answer as to if they were actually living with him or if they were homeless, bouncing house to house.
No, they lived at our mom's house. They never lived with me.
Hold on. It's not your turn yet. You can say that in a minute.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go. Ms. Harris, can you ask that question again? I didn't hear the whole thing.
Any of the children living with Mr. Crispell?
We did not know if they actually lived there or if they were homeless, bouncing house to house.
And since the removal, has he taken any steps that you're aware of to make his home appropriate and show that he can care for the kids?
Not to my knowledge.
And Would his home be an appropriate place for any of the children to stay?
All like a home study would have to be conducted, and anybody that lives in the home would have to be checked out thoroughly.
Do you have concerns about ongoing drug use in that home?
Absolutely.
Have police been called out to that home?
Yes,
So initially it would not be appropriate, correct?
correct.
And who did he ask to be studied for placement?
His mother,
And where does she live?
directly across the street.
Is that concerning?
Yes.
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Ms. Kelly?
No, Your Honor.
No. Okay, thank you. Next witness, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, Your Honor. I would call Kaylee Williman from CASA. What is your involvement in this case?
I've been appointed as the guardian ad litem.
And in that context, have you had a chance to meet with the children and then see their condition?
Yes, I saw them one time. There was a parent visit the day after removal, and I observed briefly the visitation with both of the fathers.
During those visitations, what was the condition of the children?
Everything seemed appropriate, but that was after they had been removed and placed in foster care.
And therefore they had had a chance to, for example, be cleaned and dressed?
Yes.
And were they cleaned and dressed appropriately during those visits?
Yes.
In your estimation, is it in the best interest of these children to be removed from the custody of their parents, at least on a temporary basis?
Yes, considering everything going on in the case.
What are your concerns regarding the possibility of placing these children with Mr. Crispell?
As everything that Ms. Pilley has said, the drugs, the police involvement at his home, and I'd be slightly concerned with placing them with his family right across the street, just because I think it would be extremely confusing to the kids. And I don't know if they would follow the boundaries that we would put in place.
And so in your estimation, would it be in the best interest of these children for the state to take temporary management conservatorship and to place them potentially with a relative, but not the Mr. Crispell's mother?
Yes.
Do you have any other comments regarding the best interest of the children?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Ms. Woolman, were you able to witness the bond between the siblings when you saw them?
Yes, I did.
Do you think it's important that they remain together?
Yes, well, I only was able to, Jacob had a visit with Braden, and then the two girls were separate with Mr. King. So I didn't see them all three together, but I did witness the two girls together, and I would like to keep them together as long as possible. I mean, if I didn't know their ages, I would have thought they were twins. They had a very strong bond.
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Your Honor, I have no further witnesses.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lang, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor. There's a slim chance, Your Honor, that the jail may be trying to get in. They said 10 o'clock was their cutoff. I don't know. It's worth watching, but.
Yeah, no, we're watching.
Okay.
Miss Crispell's the only one in the waiting room. Miss Willis, any witnesses?
I don't have any witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Crispell, would you like to testify or do you have any witnesses?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Williman, anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Harris, anything else you'd like to add as an attorney ad litem?
Just by request, Your Honor.
Okay. Go on.
I would like the drug test done on the kids as soon as possible. I think that's extremely important considering the situation they were in. I am okay with the kids going to Miss Griswold, although a home study has not been done, and it's really hard to predict long run. I hate to give up a placement that was willing to take all 3 children. That's amazing. But at the same time, I think these are young kids. I think they need to be back with family and they need to be close to parents for visits. I'm okay with visits between mom and Mr. King occurring at the department supervised. I am not in support of Mr. Crispell having any visits as he has not taken his drug test and is not actively participating in the case other than showing up for court. Their grandmother was also extremely close to them. I understand that we typically do not provide visits for grandparents, but because of the bond with the children and Ms. Holmes' mother, I think that it would be good to have those, but only once a month, and again, supervised by the department. And I just want the court to know that Ms. Pilley has worked her tail end off on talking to all these people and putting a lot of effort into finding placement, family placement, and honoring all of the parents' wishes for studies.
And Your Honor, from the department's perspective, we would echo the request that any visitation with the grandmother occur and be supervised at the department, just to take the pressure off of the relatives and ensure the safety of the kids.
Let me ask a question. Lawyers for parents and Mr. Crispell, is anybody in this case currently paying child support for any of the children? Pursuant to a court order, I guess that's a better way of saying it. No?
No, Your Honor. I interviewed my client. There are no AG cases or anything else of that nature.
Okay. And remind me, Ms. Lang, which of the dads, mom was with Mr. Crispell upon removal?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is she in jail for?
She's a motion to revoke. She tested positive on a drug test. She was on a deferred.
For what was she on?
For POCS.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the plan? What are they? I mean, anybody talk to her probation officer? Anybody know anything?
I have not. Jeanette Murray, I've got a note that I need to follow up with her. It's a state jail felony. She has court on May 4th, and it was a 2016 charge. So she had been doing very well, but she wound up with a positive drug test.
Okay.
She has Austin Shells representing her on her felonies.
Hired?
I'm assuming, Judge. Or I don't know. That's an interesting point, but she did turn in the court, her application, so.
Okay. Okay, let me think about this for just a second.
Would you please let my client know what Ms. Tina told you today? Since that was his family choice for placement.
Like right now?
Well,
Sorry.
since we're on break.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know that she wanted a Terry King to be looked at.
Okay, so she wasn't interested herself.
She's interested, but she wanted that person to be looked at.
Is she interested in all 3?
No, just Bristol.
Okay.
Did Mr. King do a hair strand, Miss Willis?
I believe he did. Mr. King, you did a hair strand, didn't you? You're muted.
Yes, ma'am, I did a hair strand.
And what were the results, sir?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything back.
Okay, Miss Pilley.
I have the results. They were positive for cocaine and marijuana.
Okay. Miss Willis, I thought you're representing Mr. King and something else. Is there some sort of private?
No,
going on?
well, I was just representing him and trying to sort out his traffic tickets and get his occupational license.
Oh, okay.
It was something that his father paid his fees, but
okay.
he's my tractor mechanic, so we. What I'm trying to say is he should be eligible for court-appointed attorney.
No, I was just wondering for, consolidate Something like that. It's my understanding that Mr. King and Ms. Holmes have agreed to temporary managing conservatorship with the department, going to name the department as temporary managing conservator, of all 3 children. Ms. Wheeler was released as Mr. Criswell did not comply with the court orders regarding his application for court appointed attorney. Hair strand on, I remembered something else. I think I got it written down. Hair strand on the children by 5/4/24. Expedited home study on Miss Griswold, where the children are to be placed as soon as CPS can work that out. Mr. Criswell is the hair strand by noon on 5/3/24. No visits until he submits a hair strand. His court appointed attorney application is submitted in compliance with court orders, and 3 clean consecutive UAs. Parents upon presentment must execute releases for CPS to confer with their probation officer. Grandma Criswell can visit 1 time at the CPS offices agreed by CPS and ad litems. The Children's Bill of Rights is applicable to everybody in this case, including grandma. Those are things that you can and can't say or do during the pendency of this case. Your attorneys will get that for you, and department make sure that Miss Linda Criswell knows all those, because if she violates any of those, then we're not doing more visits with her. Who's going to be the CVS, the conservatorship worker? Miss Brock, is it, or Miss Pilley? Does anybody know?
It's Raphael.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Chris King are to pay $200 per month child support for their respective child, beginning 5/15/23, payable to the attorney ad litem who will forward it to placement. Ms. Holmes is to provide personal effects as requested by CPS placement for the ad litems. DNA on both dads, as for Braylon, as set up by the department. Parents can, Mr. King and Ms. Holmes can visit at the CPS office agreed by CPS and ad litems. They can visit virtually 2 times a week as agreed by the placement. That's going to be hard for Ms. Holmes when she's in jail, but Mr. King can start doing that now. Our status hearing is 6/14/23. Mr. King, Mr. Criswell, between now and then, there'll be a meeting called a family group conference. And at the family group conference, that's where your services are developed. And the services are things that you have to with to get CPS out of your kids back home. I tell everybody at every hearing you have to come to a plan, or your parental rights can be subject to termination. Does everybody agree that the hearings that everybody hear via Zoom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. That's the order of the court. Anybody need anything, Ms. Lane?
Just one clarification about Grandma Connie's visit. She said 1 time, Judge. Would that be 1 time a month or 1 time only?
Is Grandma Connie, is that Crystal?
No, that's going to be where the children have been living pretty much consistently, but she's the maternal grandmother.
Both and maternal grandma. Well, she got 1 time a month too.
And you know, just for clarification as well, that you ordered hair strands on Mr. Criswell and the children by certain dates, but I didn't get them. Can you just repeat that?
Dad by Wednesday at noon. The kids by Thursday, the 4th, because it's going to take, we got to move the kids, and it's going to be they need an extra time.
And then, Your Honor, is it the court's preference that we complete a home study on Ms. Griswold before transfer, or the department's rules would allow transfer and placement and then a subsequent home study, but it just whatever.
That's fine. I said expedited home study. Like going Ms. Griswold. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, good luck to everybody, and I'll see y'all. Hello.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I mean, what about my, her grandparents on my side, for Bristol? I just hadn't heard anything about that.
And what's their name, Mr. King?
Travis King and Deborah King.
And where do they live?
My dad, Travis, lives in Llano, and my mom lives in Fairland.
Fairland?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want them looked into?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I'm not in support of them having visits at this time. The only reason I was making an exception for Ms. Holmes' mother is because the children had spent so much time with her and their young age.
Okay.
Your
Okay,
Honor,
I'd like to look into the homes of paternal king grandparents. And you know, parents get to visit first and then
Yeah.
grandparents. So Mr. Crystal hadn't done any of his stuff. So his mom can visit. Mom is in jail, so her mom can visit. So that's kind of the way that goes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So let's start doing the visits and see how they go with you, Mr. King. And oftentimes, maybe not often, sometimes I'll let grandparents come in on the last part of a parent's visit, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
that's what I was going to suggest, Your Honor.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that now, but we can, and I'll just say with them, visits as agreed by CPS and Ed Adams.
And I was just curious about maybe classes that I could start working towards, you know, I don't know.
Classes, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am. Or
Yeah,
something.
Mr. Tovar is gonna be your caseworker. He's real good. He'll get with you and y'all have a family group conference and that's where all that stuff is developed, okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I don't know any, that's not in my job description.
Okay,
I'll hear about him at the next hearing, but yeah. Miss Willis knows your caseworker and she'll get on it with him.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I told y'all that Miss King, or maybe I didn't, Mr. King and Mr. Crisple's court-appointed attorney applications are due by 5/3/23. Vernon County Jail. You might
Can I go in a breakout room with her, Judge? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Angelica.
Miss Holmes, you're going to a breakout room with your lawyer, okay? So just click the button for breakout room. Miss Willis, do you need a breakout room? Mr. King, go on it. Do you have a link for a breakout room? Guess so. Okay, everybody else is excused. Thank y'all.
Judge,
Yes.
can we give Mr. Crispo instructions on how or where to get the court-appointed attorney application?
Yes, please.
Mr. Crispo, do you have an email?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hold on. Miss Trinidad, can you write this down, please?
I'll email you the application shortly, okay?
Thank you.
Miss Trinidad is due by the 3rd. Thank y'all. We'll be in recess.